Good morning, everybody. This is Diggs. It's another beautiful day out here in the Pacific Northwest, and today we're going to be talking about the 4-star light familiars that are in Ni no Kuni Crossworlds. We're going to be talking about the global buffs that are with them. We're going to be taking a look at their abilities and how good they really are. So let's go ahead and dig in. Now, unlike the standard elements, light and dark do actually get some additional 4-star familiars. Now, they each have 5, and light has some pretty interesting ones. We're going to start out with the rare plus, which is going to be the Bunnybot. And the Bunnybot is a interesting familiar because it's almost universal in its kind of application, because it is increased damage by 2% for each attack familiar equipped. So you're going to be able to increase your damage kind of in a rainbow formation and not necessarily just a single elemental formation. It also upgrades to 4% for each attack familiar equipped at level 10. Granted, most of us are probably not going to get it to level 10, but that is a substantial amount of damage bonus on your character. It also decreases all crowd control effects by 7%. The rearm ability creates a shield equal to 10% of max HP for 7 seconds, increases stun, knockdown, subdue resist rates by 50% while the shield is active, and increases damage to stunned enemies by 10%. Now, while you can't actually stun the opponent with this familiar, you may have other familiars in the light area or the light arena. Maybe you're using some abilities to add synergy with stun. So overall, I would actually say that Bunnybot is one of the better familiars that you could actually get right now. Bunnybot is classified as a support familiar though, so do keep that in mind. So the 2% for each of the attack familiars equipped, you're only going to be able to get like 4% damage bonus, or you're only going to be able to get at max level 8%. You're not going to be able to get all 3 of the attack familiar bonuses, but Bunnybot is super powerful. The familiar ability, when we do get to the familiar based content in the game, creates a shield for an ally familiar in range for 5 seconds that can defend against damage 5 times, increases all elemental status effect resistance rates by 25% when the shield is active. I'd actually say this is pretty good because when you are doing the minion based combat, almost all of the minions have some type of a status based attack. So of course, because it is a rare plus creature and it is 4-star, it is going to be pretty much universally good across the spectrum here. Thumbelina. Now, Thumbelina is probably one of the coolest looking familiars in the game, I would say. I always love when I see a Thumbelina on someone's composition. Going to be another light element support type. Interestingly, it's going to decrease skill cooldown of light familiars accompanying the partner by 1%. Now, this is interesting because Flutterby, for those of you familiar, a 3rd light support 4-star unit, has the same thing, decreased skill cooldown of light familiars by 1%. So depending on what you want, you may consider which one of these that you want to set, right? So what Thumbelina is going to be, is going to be focusing on is going to increase basic attack damage by 1% for each light familiar equipped. So very powerful, going to increase your damage. Could quickly kind of, snowball if you have the right setup. The problem is right now that a lot of the light familiars aren't really necessarily synergistic with each other, right? So like if you equip this with like the robot bunny that we were just talking about, the 4-star rare plus, this is not an attack familiar, so you're not going to get the damage plus 2%. So yes, while you may be getting that increased basic attack damage, you're not going to be getting that damage plus 2%. So the light familiars are very interesting in that regard. Now, Thumbelina does also have a heal, restores 7.5% of max HP and 1000 HP over 4 seconds. This is actually very similar to Disbelief, where Disbelief's heal is not that powerful and Thumbelina's heal is not that powerful either. They're both at about half capacity of Shrimpaler, for example, or Splisher. They have significantly more healing capacity. So if you're looking for a raw healing familiar, Thumbelina is definitely not going to be that. But what Thumbelina will do is it will kind of give you additional damage, additional heal. So there may be situations if you're going particularly against corruption, because it can instantly remove corruption, you may consider using Thumbelina in that type of situation. Now, his familiar ability is going to restore 15% of in-range ally familiars max HP. This is actually one of the strongest. The only other familiar heal that is very similar to this is Splishers, which does an AoE regen. So the fact that this restores 15% of an in-range ally familiar's HP over 7 seconds is really powerful. It also removes corruption in range. Flutterby, one of my familiars that I actually use. Flutterby is interesting. You hear a lot of people talking about Flutterby. How I initially heard about Flutterby was like, oh, Flutterby is the best familiar for, you know, the rogue class. And I understand that it gives evasion and it's pretty good. I find it really hard to specifically focus on, you know, certain familiars for certain classes because there's so many different things that factor into it, particularly when you're considering equipment and, you know, gear and skills that you have set. So it's difficult for me to say, you know, yes, this familiar is for this class. So just a, you know, interesting note on Flutterby here. But Flutterby is pretty interesting, pretty good. Again, has the decreased skill cooldown of light familiars accompanying the partner by 1%. Thumbelina partnered with this. I wonder if these abilities stack. That would be something really interesting to test. Has decreased crit damage taken by 3% for each light familiar equipped, the global exclusive buff here. So going to be reducing that crit damage. The main ability, Stardust Shield, basic attack and skill evasion rate plus 15% or plus 10%, movement speed plus 20% for 7 seconds. Again, this is really good in kiting situations. So for those of you that are trying to push right now, like guild defense, where, you know, we're pushing tier 2 right now, our guild's not a bunch of whales. So our strategy does involve kiting monsters. This is a really powerful ability and it can be utilized as such. And I would definitely recommend it. Star Shield, the familiar battle for the familiar combat, is going to create a shield with 15% of max HP for a single ally familiar in range for 5 seconds. It's going to instantly restore 2.5% of max HP if their shield is destroyed. Again, these single target heals in familiar combat, not particularly remarkable, especially when you saw, you know, why would we want a 15% shield on one unit when we could get a 15% AoE heal with like Thumbelina, right? So things to consider there when you are looking eventually when we get to that point where we are taking familiar combat a little bit more seriously. Beard got some substantial global exclusive buffs. And when I pulled Beard initially, people were like, Beard, no good. You're screwed getting Beard. And I actually am a firm believer in Beard. So here, let's talk about Beard, guys. Beard initially only had darkness damage taken minus 1%. However, he got a global exclusive buff, which lowers damage from players in battlefields by 1%, which is great. It caps out at 3% when it is maximum level. We have Heroic Headbutt, which deals 263% of attack as damage, targets attack speed minus 10% for 5 seconds, and the global buff is going to be stunning the target for 1 second if it's a player. So really great option for PvP, really gives him some more utility and a little bit more identity as a familiar. His familiar ability is going to activate when a familiar's HP is at 50% or below. It's going to deal 162% of attack as damage to enemies in range, deals 60% of damage taken for 3 seconds as damage to nearby enemy familiars. So pretty interesting that it also damages nearby ally familiars. I'm not sure how this is really going to go because familiar combat isn't really something we've dived a lot into on the global side yet. Anything that damages, like, I'm always a little skeptical whenever you deal a lot of damage to the opponent and a little bit of damage to yourself. It could end up just screwing you over, particularly if you're trying to protect a backline, because Beard is a defensive-based familiar. So lots to consider here with that. Sparky, the soul attack-based light familiar. Gonna come in with the light damage up. Now, the light damage up is like, you know, overall, generically, one of the good passives in the game. Any of the elemental damage up passives, great. This is going to be the bread and butter of any elemental composition that you're putting together. Zip and Zap, the active ability, deals 46% of attack as damage per hit. Stuns for 1 second. Now, keep in mind, there are other familiars here that did give enhanced bonus with stun. 100% chance to cause flash, which deals 100% of attack as damage for 8 seconds. Interesting note here. Flash is a different type of status ailment than other status ailments that we've seen in the game. Almost all of the other status ailments only last for 5 seconds and deal 100% attack as damage. So this lasts for 8 seconds and deals 100% attack as damage. So that is something to keep in mind, is the damage is going to be the same amount, but it's going to be spread out over time a little bit more. Familiar ability deals 90% of attack as damage to enemies in range on every third basic attack. This is very powerful. Procs on every third basic attack. Going to be very good. You know, not going to be associated on a timer. It's a passive. It's going to be exceptionally good. Anyway, everybody, I hope you guys like these style of videos. Thank you so much to everybody watching my Nnkcw videos. Again, you could really support me by dropping a like and leaving a comment down in the comment section down below. Make sure you swing by my Discord. We have a great Nnkcw section there as well. And I'll catch you guys later.